Welcome to the lesson on the lowest common multiple. In this lesson, we shall learn about the lowest common multiple, usually called the LCM. We shall learn two different methods for finding it. The first method uses multiples, and the second method uses prime factors and factor trees. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to use either method confidently. Let's begin by reviewing multiples. A multiple is the result of multiplying a number by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So, for example, multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. And multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on. We now take a look at what the lowest common multiple is. Before we do that, we must understand what common multiples are. So remember, as we said in the previous slides, a multiple is the result of multiplying a number by 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So for example, remember we had the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. And the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and so on. So the common multiples, notice which are common to both, are 12, 24, 36, and so on. So the common multiples of 4 and 6 are 12, 24, 36, and so on. The lowest common multiple is the smallest positive common multiple of two or more numbers. So if we look again at our previous example, here are our multiples of 4, and here are our multiples of 6. The multiples which are common to both are of course 12, 24, and so on, but the lowest of these is 12. So the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6 is LCM of 4, 6 equals 12. Let's now find the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5. The first method we're going to use is to list the multiples of each number. We continue writing the multiples until we find the first number that appears in both lists. So let's take a look. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and so on. Multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. The lowest common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. This is the smallest number, which is a multiple of both 3 and 5. Let's try another example using the same method. So we're going to now find the lowest common multiple of 8 and 12. The multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and so on. And the multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36, 48, and so on. The lowest common multiple of 8 and 12 is 24, because 24 is the smallest number, which is a multiple of both numbers. Sometimes the numbers can become quite large. In these cases, it is often easier to use prime factorization. Let's recall the idea behind the factor tree. So if we consider the number 18, this can be written as 9 times 2. And 9 can be written as 3 times 3. Eventually, every branch ends with prime numbers. We can't break this down further, so we have to stop, and we can now express 18 as a product of prime factors. So 18 equals 3 times 3 times 2, as illustrated here. Let's take a look at another example of a factor tree. So consider the number 12. We can write this as 4 times 3, and 4 can be expressed as 2 times 2. Therefore, 12 can be expressed as 2 times 2 times 3. Let's now find the lowest common multiple of 12 and 18 using the prime factor method. So using the factor tree, we found that 12 equals 2 times 2 times 3, and that 18 equals 3 times 3 times 2. We're now going to take the highest power of each prime, and therefore the lowest common multiple of 12 and 18 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, as shown here, which gives us 4 times 9, which is equal to 36. Let's now compare the two methods. Both methods give exactly the same answer. Listing multiples is usually easier for small numbers. However, prime factorization becomes much quicker when the numbers are larger. It is useful to know both methods. Today, we learnt what multiples are and how common multiples are formed. We also learned that the lowest common multiple is simply the smallest common multiple. Finally, we practiced two different methods for finding the LCM, using multiples and prime factors. Now pause the video and have a go at these exercises. Press play when you're ready to view the solutions. Solutions are coming up shortly. This brings us to the end of this session. Do attempt the exercises in your textbook related to this topic. Thank you very much for listening.